Greetings, groovy people! Welcome to the channel. I realize my hand is super overexposed. I'm sorry, I'm trying to make sure that things look good with like the natural lighting. But welcome to the channel. I'm the self-proclaimed Blue Dragon. This week we're finishing up the two-part video series for the Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which I started at the beginning of May. Before we get into this video, my normal disclaimers: I make videos for adults only, even if I'm not doing something, you know, that's like risque. They're for adults only. Ah, my shit's falling. And also, if you don't like ads and there are ads on this video, I don't approve of that, so get an ad blocker if you like. Oh, hey, look, the lighting's better here. If I don't move my hands, it'll be okay. Okay, anyway, before we get into the video, I do want to do a quick shout out. This is an address that I am no longer at, so don't go to this address. I'm not there. Don't go looking for me anyway. You wouldn't. No one would. But that's just a warning. Don't do it. But I wanted to give a shout out to Feral Publications. I got some free stickers and some free stuff from this channel, as well as I ordered some things too, but Feral Publications is just an amazing, independently owned zine company that works really hard to help promote independent artists, particularly within the underground zine scene. They do articles on Medium. It's a couple people, primarily Rich is the main guy. He's got a YouTube channel that is just phenomenal, and I'm going to put it in the iCard, but also down in the description. But if you like zines, if you like raw art that is passion and emotion, and just relatable to the average Joe and not like catering to the masses, this is a channel that is definitely for you. I ordered a couple things. I don't want to like show like all these things, but these are some mini zines that I got, that he is helping to promote their art. But also, I had watched a video where like he was working on this wood stamp himself, and like totally did this himself, cut it out, stamps it. He does all of this by hand. This is so fucking awesome. I like all the zines. You can get a subscription through Patreon, I think. But yeah, look at this stuff. I was really interested in the Earth Day special, but just Feral Comics in general. It's just so fucking. Look at how hardcore this is. This is like some old school underground shit, and I absolutely love it. But like in each zine, there's like several little episodes. I don't want to like give away too much because it's not I don't own this material, but there's always credit given to all the artists. These are printed in like small quantities, so they're nearly one of a kind. Not one of a kind, but there's only so many that you can get before they're not printed anymore. But I was interested in the Earth Day special. To my understanding, when I watched the video, they actually donated some money to some environmental causes. So putting their money where their mouth is, supporting small creators, as well as just, you know, updating you on like the zine hustle. I mean, look at this shit. This is so cool. So yeah, I've been holding on to these for a while, but like I got them right as we were in the process of moving, and I didn't want to just slapdash. I wanted to take the time to actually like record a little bit of these, but like this is just an idea of like some of the stuff that you'll get. This is so awesome. I love Earth. I do an Earth Day video every year. Usually it's shitty art, but sometimes I step up my game. But actually, speaking of Earth Day, I've still got my pencils that I found on the ground, which is like totally not sanitary, but I sanitized them. This was long before the pandemic, but that was my first Earth Day video thing. But yeah, so if you are interested in zines and do-it-yourself culture and supporting independent artists, this guy here is living, he's practicing what he's preaching. So if you want people who are for real, check this out. Seriously. I've already read these, and I'm probably going to hand them off to my partner to read, but I don't want to like give too much away, like I said, because it's not my material, and you should go check it out yourself. There might still be some copies left. I will put links down in the description. I also got some really awesome stickers from this dude. He just sent them for free. It was so fucking cool. I mean, I requested it, obviously. I didn't, like... It was not unsolicited, but yeah, I wanted some of their stickers. Oh, yeah. Here, shiny photo paper. I love that. I love that. These are so cool. This is his little Batman thing that he does. He does this character like a lot. It's really fucking funny. I like his channel. You should check it out. I'm going to stop audio recording now, and then I'm going to add like some voiceover. But I just wanted to do that in real time because I wanted to. So, okay. Voiceover time. The audio sound may shift a little bit, so I apologize. I'm a shitty creator. Okay, on to the drawing. Last week I briefly mentioned that I wasn't happy with how my drawings looked in part 1 of this series. So Saturday, to warm up my hand, I went ahead and did a second sketch using my great aunt's photo as well as a different reference picture. The woman on the bottom, I had found a photograph on Pinterest, and that's what I use. I'll put that link down in the description for anyone interested. I was having a pretty good drawing day, so I quit while I was ahead. And then on Sunday, I got down to business creating a new character. It's Mermaid, and I thought it'd be cool to draw a sirena, which is similar to a mermaid, and by similar, I mean the origins are a little confusing, but the name probably came from the Spaniards who colonized the Philippines before America came in and colonized them again. But in an article by Charity Bayer Bagatsing, I hope I'm saying her name right. She is a writer and publisher for the Northwest Woman magazine, at least in 2016 she was, and she is a Filipina-born American. She lives in the States now, but she shared several sirena stories that were told to her by her grandmother, who said a lot of these stories came from the Ilocos region, which is an area in the Philippines, kind of like in the Bay Area. And so, like, while you'll find mermaids in different areas, probably in the folklore, a lot of it comes from, according to this woman, the Ilocano. So the sirena seems to have been kind of a combination of the pre-colonial Encanto, which are like natural spirits, nature spirits, as far as I can tell, and the European siren. We all know what sirens are. They come from like Greek mythologies. But it was kind of like a combination between a siren and a mermaid, like the idea behind them. Although not all sirenas, as far as I can tell, are necessarily evil. 'Cause, I mean, some of them, yeah, they're trying to drown seamen. Juvenile after there. But a lot of them aren't. So I don't feel like they're necessarily considered as evil as like well, not evil, but like sirens are considered, destroyers of man. If you read the Odyssey, or if you are familiar with the Odyssey, the sirens wanted to drown the man, and blah 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 blah. So a little bit different. But yeah, it should be noted that there are also male and female versions of mermaids. I'm not certain, but I feel like the male versions have a different name. Again, I'm not positive on that. If there's anyone out there who does know, there really wasn't a lot in English that I could find. So what I did find brought up like a couple other names, including the Encanto. So it's a little bit confusing for me since I'm not as familiar with the folklore. But I do want to thank the Azwag Project and Bayer Bagasting for their folklore stories, which I'm going to link down in the description. Personally, I would love to get a hold of a copy of an English translation, which the book says that it does have translations into English in it, but a copy of the Diccionario Mitologico de Filipinas. I think that would just be really fucking cool, but unfortunately, currently I see that it's just being sold on Amazon, and I fucking hate Amazon. I'm not supporting Bezos. I don't care if he stepped down as CEO or not. I'm not supporting the company because they treat their workers like shit, as well as have a huge environmental footprint. So, I mean, they don't give a shit that I'm not buying from them, but it makes me feel better since that's all the power I wield besides, trying to support people who are trying to take them on. That's the best I can do, I feel.
but I am going to try to look into finding a copy of it somewhere that doesn't support Amazon when I have a little bit more time, because I love to read mythologies. I've talked about this before on the channel, just how interesting it is to me to learn about different folklore from around the world. So hopefully I'll be able to do a little bit more exploration sometime in the years to come with other places as well. But anyway, I'm digressing. You can find the article that I read, Sirena Stories, the mythological mermaid of the Philippines, down in the description. I'll have a link down there. And it is going to be on the Aswag Project website, so that's something you can check out if you're interested. Actually, all of my sources are going to be down in the description. It's primarily going to be Wikipedia, just because that's where I could find information, so that's all going to be down in the description. Most of what I'm saying is kind of paraphrasing what I've read from these specific articles. There's probably more out there, but in the limited amount of time that I have, that's as much as I could do at this point in time without having a copy of that. The English translation would be the Philippine Mythological Creature Dictionary, which I would love to get a hold of. Also, I did watch a video by that Mikey Bustos. Apparently he is Canadian, but he, his family hailed from the Philippines, and he currently lives in the Philippines now. So I think I mixed that up a little bit whenever I was talking about him the week before last. But he talked about the Sirena in his video, and I'm going to put just a quick clip here. I should join the Voice Philippines. And now that the clip is over, I am going to go ahead and link in the iCard to that video if anyone's interested in watching that and learning a little bit about some other mythological creatures from the Philippines. Something cool that I stumbled upon while doing this research was that there's actually a comic book character created by Mars Revelo, and it was illustrated by Elpidio Torres. I hope I said that right, Torres. I can't curl my R's very well. I suck at that. I'm sorry. I can do like the rrr, but like I can't do it in the middle of a word. I suck. This Revelo guy had created this character, designed this character named Jezebel. It's spelled Dysesebel, but from watching clips of the television series that became very popular that are based on this character, I think they pronounce it Jezebel. Which would make sense. I mean, a lot of the Philippines, a lot of it's Catholic, which is what my grandmother was. She was Catholic. I don't know if that's what she's named after, but it makes sense to me. But yeah, I tried to find images of this character. She was created originally like in the 1950s for this comic book that Mars Revelo was a part of. He did a couple different comic books. Apparently he was very well known in the Philippines, and I thought it was really cool. I love the design. I'm gonna link the Wikipedia article down in the description so you can at least see one photograph of the character, but I couldn't find any other pictures of the comic with this character, and all I could find was references to like the different films and television series that were inspired by Jezebel. So yeah, I did find it cool though that the storyline, at least of one of these television series, seems, I mean, I don't know, I would have to learn more about it, but I feel like it was actually influenced by one of the stories that was on the Aswag Project article that I had read, where it was the merman who was wooing the human woman, and then they had children, and that's who this, I'm thinking that's who this Jezebel character is supposed to be related to, but without having copies of the comic book and with very little information other than like the description being written in English for the television series. I can't confirm that, but I still think that's really fucking cool how in the 50s this character came about that was inspired by that mythology, which makes sense because, you know, like people here in the States, people in Europe, people in South America, there's a lot of really popular Brazilian artists who, and of course, you know, in different parts of the world that, you know, we're inspired by the mythologies of our people and the people who came before us. So I think that's kind of cool that a comic book was doing the same thing as, like, you know, Thor is based in mythology, even though they're doing it a little differently. And, you know, and you've got like the Wonder Woman who is like of the Amazons, and, you know, I just think that's kind of cool that the Philippines had their own comic book series with characters that were informed by folklore and mythologies of their own island. So to me that was cool, and I'm speculating that could just be blowharding on the guy. It could have absolutely nothing to do with that, but I have a feeling that they are connected, and I think that's really cool. I would like to see more of those vintage comics because I think that would be cool. Revelo apparently was a huge contributor to Filipino comics. For a little while, I kind of slipped down a tangent and did searches for Filipino comics and Campion comics, both of which he had played a role in, but I really couldn't find too much on them. Not in the short period of time that I had, but I did find this interesting YouTube channel that if you're into vintage comics, you can recognize the language and read it. You know, it's not in English, but this is a Filipino creator posting these Filipino comics, so I thought that was kind of cool, and I would like to check them out and learn a little bit more about them if I can, because I do like old school comics. I don't necessarily feel the desire to read all old school comics, but this kind of piqued my interest, so if you're interested, that link will be down in the description. Back to Sirenas though, and if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I apologize. I assume that it's pronounced Sirenas, but I could be saying that completely wrong. If anybody knows, let me know. But yeah, so what I decided to do, I just wanted to draw a couple quick pose sketches. We've probably moved on from that by this point in the video, but I was trying to create some poses in my mind that I wanted to draw because I didn't want her to look just like the references. I was just using those to grow accustomed to drawing those specific types of facial features. So what I wanted to do was apparently settled upon one of my favorite poses for mermaids. I clearly need to expand my horizons because I used the same pose for a pearly queen mermaid that I painted for my mom years ago. I'll post a picture of it here so you can see what I mean. She's sitting in the exact same position, just different background, but I guess I just really like that pose for mermaids. But I need to get out of my comfort zone in the future and try to be a little bit more experimental with poses. I did, a couple of years ago, I did a mermaid that was a maid, and I had a different pose for her, so I'll post that here. That's actually in my Redbubble shop, design is. So, yeah, I do sometimes break out of my box, but I realized it when it was too late that, oh shit, she's sitting in the exact same position. Oops, my bad. I guess it doesn't matter. I had fun drawing it, and the goal was to make sure that it looked good, at least according to my tastes, so I think she turned out okay, the pose. So I want to talk a little bit about this piece itself. I mean, why I chose each specific element within the figure. I was very careful to have a reason for everything that I did. So I chose to have her look as though she were kind of ushering the moon, almost holding the moon, because according to Wikipedia, Bulan, one of the embodiments of the full moon, comes to Earth to swim with the Sirenas, and they kind of act as his protector. So that's why I chose to have it look like she's holding the moon. I also included a cute little turtle pal because turtles are awesome, and because Sirenas are apparently quite often depicted as being accompanied by either turtles or dolphins or mammals of that, in that same family, or judongs, who are related to sea cows and manatees and are in the order Sirenia, which see see how it all comes back to Sirena. Shit, I missed that opportunity. I should have had her with a sea cow or with the judongs instead of having a turtle, but oh well, I like turtles, so I chose a turtle. So maybe in the future I'll do that. Probably not, but maybe, I don't know. But when I made her fin, I tried to make her fin look a little bit more fish-like than I sometimes do, or than a lot of times we see mermaid tails. Not that they don't look fish-like, but I wanted to make her tail that kind of spiny tail, like the fins of a fish. And she does also have a bit of a dorsal fin on her bum, but you can't see it because I put the turtle there, so you can just barely see it. When it came to her brassiere, I decided to do seaweed because I love seaweed. I love to eat seaweed, y'all. I'll eat just about anything as long as it was not a living creature or came from a living creature. Yeah, thinking about it, I thought that would be a bit more comfortable than slapping a couple shells on your titties. No offense, goddess Lady Gaga. You look great, you look fabulous. Keep those shells there, I know what you're referencing. But I just think from a Word of Wednesday utilitarian standpoint that something soft but strong that can be knotted or can be made into sheets, or you can do so much with seaweed, that I thought it would make more sense that she had a seaweed bra. Because I really didn't want to have her tits hanging out. I mean, I have nothing wrong with drawing tits, but I felt like it wasn't really appropriate for this picture. So that's why she's got a bra. But don't get me wrong, I do love shell bras for like their aesthetic. Maybe if they were like padded with seaweed or sponges. Yeah, you could probably put sponges in there and that would be nice and soft. I'm really probably overthinking this. Yeah. Okay, let's move along. Final thoughts. I'm actually incredibly pleased with how she turned out. I was careful to practice blending the Copics first because I did not want to fuck this up. Quite often when I use Copics, because I'm not too terribly experienced with them, I fuck it up. But I've been watching Drawing with Waffles. Been trying to take notes. And I also just practiced. So I tried to make sure that I had the blending down okay. I also tried to balance the colors and find a palette that was pleasing, at least to my eyes, but also balanced. I also gave the image like that diagonal line. It's kind of like my go-to, the diagonal line, because it produces interest and, and then you got like, yeah, anyway, I don't need to explain it. It's existed for a long time. I like it. I did want the sky to be less detailed just because there is more detail elsewhere in the image. And that's why I ended up, instead of using marker, I just kind of did a messy wash. I wanted it to be very expressionist. I mean, you could think that I was just trying to be lazy, which is probably true. But I really didn't want a lot of detail in the sky. But I also wanted it to be kind of dark so that it seemed as though it was night without being too incredibly drained of color. That was my goal with that. I mean, yeah, I guess her eye could be a little lower. I probably put her eye up a little too high. Oh well, I can fix that in Photoshop maybe if I feel like it. I don't know, I might do a digital version of this. We'll see how I feel. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the video and that you're maybe inspired to learn more about the Philippines or their folklore, or maybe, look into the stories that I share. There's a lot of awesome Filipino Americans. They're just here on the continent. They're doing a lot of cool things, and we don't always hear about them, so my goal was kind of to shine a little bit of light on that part of our culture. I do like Lou Diamond Phillips. He does a lot of philanthropy and he gets around the acting scene. I love the music of the musician Toro Imoy. He's actually part Filipino and part African American. He's from the States. He's not from the Philippines. He's from here. But I'm gonna go ahead and put an iCard to his song Labyrinth up in the upper right hand corner. I absolutely love that song. I didn't even know he had Filipino in him. I heard his music like at Ahmad Pizza one year and I was like, oh shit, I gotta go check this dude out. So I mean, I just liked him independent of knowing anything about him. I liked his music, I should say. If you like kind of chill but layered, kind of complex music, he is great to listen to with your headphones on, if that's your thing. I like quite a few songs by him. The Black Eyed Peas, I did not realize this until a few years back. My ex-partner, he really liked the Black Eyed Peas, and again, I don't really look Filipina, but since he was born in Guatemala, he used to play that Latin girl song because there's a line in there about Filipinas going with Latinos and shit like that, and he thought it was cute. So I learned from that song that will.i.am's best friend and one of the founding members of the Black Eyed Peas was Apple App. I'm probably saying that wrong. It's his stage name, it's not his real name, but Apple App. He seems pretty cool. I think he's like been on the Filipino Idol, their version of American Idol, but he's done a lot of cool stuff too since the Black Eyed Peas haven't been really putting anything out lately. Bruno Mars is part African American and part Filipino. Again, he's another American musician, but he has Filipino in his lineage, and I dig a couple of his songs. So there's a couple people that you may or may not have known had Filipino in their heritage, and they're producing great stuff, so if that's something that you're interested in, you can check it out. Wrapping up, the question of the week. I have been debating on what I should name this character that I drew. I didn't want to name her Sirena or Serena because that would be way too on the nose, so I didn't want that. And then of course she's not based on Jezebel, so I didn't want to name her that either. So if anyone has any good suggestions, leave it down in the comments. If you like my videos, feel free to sub and, do all that stuff that YouTube asks you to do. If you feel like giving me some money, I'll take it. Patreon, Subscribestar, my personal shop, and Redbubble are all down in the description. Otherwise, I am out of here, you all. I'll be back next week with May's Q&A. Until then, peace and love, fare you well, and keep on truckin'.